for our last session before the lunch break. Please welcome Pieter Fossel, CEO and co-founder at Hydrosat. He will shed some light on feeding a planet without water. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Pieter Fossel, co-founder and CEO of Hydrosat. We're a Series B stage geospatial company really focused on increasing water productivity for the planet. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what that means to us. But first, I want to start kind of our journey with one of my favorite images. This is not one of our images, but since we're a remote sensing company, I have to start with a picture of Earth. This is the first photograph of our planet that was ever taken from space. It was taken in 1969 by the Apollo 11 astronauts on the moon landing. So if you can think about it as humanity's first selfie. It was our first opportunity to see what we as a planet looked like. And this image did so much to kick off the environmental movement around the world, Earth Day in particular. And the reason is you can see just how unique and special we are as a planet. We're this bright, shining blue orb in the otherwise cold, dark backdrop of space. And of course, what makes us different, what makes us special, is water. It's the water that covers over 70% of the Earth's surface. It's the water that evaporates and forms as cloud vapor and falls as rain and makes life on Earth and indeed everything else that we do and we have done as a species possible. And around 10,000 years ago, we took a major step as humans. We started to learn how to manage water ourselves through irrigation and to harness the power of water in agriculture. And that's really what allowed us to move from being a hunter-gatherer species to actually form villages and towns and ultimately cities and civilizations was our ability to manage our water resources to generate an agricultural surplus that allowed us to do more than just, eat to survive. And that's been largely a very positive story for us as a species over the last 10,000 years, but that's starting to change. And so what's on the bottom line of the curve here is the agricultural productivity growth rate that's expected to continue into the future. And the top line in magenta is the amount of agricultural productivity growth that's needed in order to keep pace with population growth. And indeed, if you look at a lot of the studies from UN, FAO, from the World Bank, they say that we need to double food production as a species just to keep pace with population growth by 2050. So this is already a delta that's forming and starting to become really a massive, massive challenge for all of us. And to just look at one country in particular, which is India. India, which as you probably know, recently passed China to become the world's most populous country, and also the most water-scarce or water-stressed country on the planet on a per capita basis. India, not only largest population country on Earth, but also a major agricultural producer, a major agricultural exporter. And around the turn of the millennia, they passed what we call the water stress line, which means the amount of cubic meters of water per person per year was starting to be impacted. And India, as a country, is rapidly approaching what we call the water scarcity line, where there will not be enough water per person to meet the needs of the population. And what happens in the world's largest country when there isn't enough water per person for survival? Very scary things from a humanitarian perspective, very scary things from an economic perspective, and very scary things for a geopolitical and security perspective. And this is just India. This same story is repeated in Bangladesh and other parts of the world that are rapidly growing, where there simply isn't, that much fresh water resources. And that's where Hydrosat comes in. So our mission in metrics as a company is what if for every field on the planet we could see a 50% increase in yield per hectare with a 30% reduction in water use in irrigation per hectare. And what really interesting about reducing water use in irrigation is that irrigation is often coming from groundwater, which means it's being pumped. out of the ground and then sprayed over the fields, and that's powered by electricity. And so reducing your water use per hectare reduces your electricity use per hectare from irrigation by about 30%. Major cost driver. And in many parts of the world, that electricity for irrigation is run on a diesel generator. Very high and very high cost and very dirty burning fuel source, as we know. So this isn't just our mission. This is something that we're actually starting to do. So Hydrosat EuroWatch product, which I'll speak about in a minute, is currently in use on around 4 million acres, so about a little less than 2 million hectares of farmland in now 38 countries around the world. And we're providing daily water use, soil moisture information, and irrigation planner to our customers to help them better manage water resources in agriculture. And just to take a couple of examples of our mission in action, one partner, Jain Irrigation in India, using our product over commercial rice farms, saw a 30% reduction in water use using our data. Another partner in South Africa, a commercial tomato grower, South Africa, another very water scarce, high population growth area, saw a 40% increase in tomato yield per hectare using our water data. And so how we're able to do this and do this all over the world is through satellite imagery. Namely, we're taking the leaf temperature or canopy temperature of the surface of the crops using thermal infrared sensors. And so this allows us to measure the water stress and water availability to that particular crop on a daily basis. And because it's all from remote sensing inputs, we don't need in-field hardware, we don't need people on the ground or equipment on the ground in the places that we do business. And this is how we're able to be in 38 countries, from India to Saudi Arabia to Guatemala to, of course, Italy and Spain closer to home, and the United States. But it's really because we are entirely remote sensing based in what we do. So I'll just give you two quick examples here of our solution in action. This is our EuroWatch portal. This is data that we provide to a county government in the state of California in the United States. We provide water management data across the entire county, and the county government's our customer. They in turn provide this data to every farmer in the county. So the county pays us to help them manage water rights and water use, and every grower in that county uses this data to help better manage their fields and ultimately produce more yields with less cubic meter of input of water. At a kind of larger scale, we also provide this data to third parties. And so this is an example from one of our partners, Geobox, in Central Asia. They're providing our Hydrosat data to the government of Kazakhstan, which is using it to manage one of their canal command irrigation zones. So this can both be used at a very small scale, but also a very large scale. And ultimately, we cover 2 million hectares of farmland today, but there are over 1 billion hectares of farmland that either are currently under irrigation or could become under irrigation in the next 10 years. And that's all part of our addressable market. That's all where we see business opportunity, and it's also where we have the ability to achieve really big impact. Because if we're able to reduce water use, by 30% across 1 billion hectares of farmland around the world, that will have a major impact on sustainable water use in agriculture on our planet, a major impact in electricity use in irrigation, and it will help to reduce the carbon footprint of irrigation as well. So that's us, that's Hydrosat, and I don't know if we're doing any questions, but I think I ended a little early just in case. 2 minutes?
They told me we don't have
Okay.
time for questions.
Okay, understood. All right.
Sorry about that.
Okay, well, feel free to find me later if you do have any questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's it.